Almost exactly 3 years ago, the Grenfell Tower fire claimed 72 lives. What happened exposed a national scandal in building quality and inspection. Thousands of people live in flats that are a fire risk, flats built with aluminium cladding and other materials that easily catch fire. Here are some people who escaped from a fire at a block of flats in Barking in East London a year ago. It had wooden cladding on balconies that caught fire.
Come on, oh my God. Come on, get out.
Got out, looked out the window and I could see like the wood falling. It's still alight. So I realised I can't really go downstairs, so the fireman had to come and get me. It was extremely terrifying. It was actually shocking because when you come out, you just see all this fire.
We heard the bang on the door and someone screaming, "Get out, get out." I just grabbed the cat and my mobile phone and we left. As soon as we walked out of the flat, there was smoke everywhere. As soon as we came out of the front door, we needed to duck down to get away from the fire. It was massive.
Well, today the UK Cladding Action Group that was formed to represent those campaigning for the removal of unsafe cladding has published some research on how what's happened is affecting mental health. Almost a quarter of those surveyed said they had felt suicidal or considered self-harm. Will Martin from the campaign can tell us more. Will, how many people did you question?
So we questioned 550 leaseholders across 143 blocks across 45 councils. And as you've said, the results are extremely shocking. One person wrote, "I have honestly thought about making a video about the plight we are facing and jumping off a bridge to kill myself." Another one wrote, we sleep with a packed bag by our door every single night. In case of a fire, we have absolutely no future." So the results really paint a horrific picture of a life that has become really actually the norm for these residents. I think it's only when you actually take a step back that you sort of realise just how unbelievably shocking these figures are. And even for myself, who lives in an affected building, I actually had not anticipated just how much of an impact the situation was having on mental health.
Why is living in a flat with unsafe cladding taking such a toll on mental health that significant numbers say they would even consider taking their own lives?
I think there's several things. Obviously, there's the costs that are associated. Neither of the funds that have been announced for the private sector cover interim measures met by. They're currently being met by leaseholders. People in the survey have said that they're having to work weekends to pay for the Waking Watch. Waking Watch is a fire warden that patrols the building and checks for any problems. And these are extremely expensive. They're at £840 each per leaseholder in Leeds. But I think the other thing that perhaps often can get overlooked in this is that, put it simply, every single night leaseholders are going to sleep in buildings that are covered in dangerous materials that have been proven to be fire risks. And I think anyone who's not in that situation, if you put yourselves in those shoes, it's not hard to actually understand why, 7 out of 10 people are saying that they can't sleep, or I don't know, I think 94% of people said that they have got anxiety and worry, and why, 23% are saying that they feel suicidal.
Will Martin, thank you. The uncertainty about how these buildings will be made safe is expected to go on for years. At the flats in Barking, the dangerous wooden cladding on the balconies that caught fire still hasn't all been replaced, even though most people have moved back in. Potential dangers have been reported in a risk inspection months before the fire. The residents are so angry with their freeholder, Adriatic Land, that at a meeting last night they called for them to forfeit their freehold. Some of the people spoke to our reporter Melanie Abbott.
I'm Konstantin Gergic.
I'm Carmen Nikolai.
You can't actually feel like completely safe. The timber is still here, on our side at least.
And I was a bit worried, to be fair, on that beautiful weather. I was thinking that people are going to start doing stupid things like having a barbecue, or maybe some kids would just, play with fire. You just never know what can happen. I was quite stressed.
When you realised that the cladding on the balconies had been flagged up in January last year and nothing had happened, what did you make of that?
We were furious. We've got dangerous materials as part of the building. Knowing that the fire risk assessment tells you to do something and just ignore it. This is purely outrageous. We had to go to therapy to cope with this.
It could have killed someone. We were so lucky that no one died, but you could have literally killed someone.
My name's Ruby. I don't feel safe at all. I mean, the cladding's still there. So they've done the front side of the building, but I live at the back and I'm on the 3rd floor in Block C, and the cladding's still there. And we've seen what happened on the 9th of June 2019. You could see how quickly the fire spread from one balcony to the next balcony. I am so scared of actually going back because I feel like I'll be living in a matchbox. You know, once there's a fire, this timber acts like an accelerant. I'm actually really, really afraid.
Well, the managing agent and Homeground, which represents the freeholder, said that the delays are partly because residents wanted specifications including colours changed and partly due to lockdown. In a statement they added, "Our focus has been on ensuring the remaining works are completed and the rest of the residents can move home safely. All the displaced residents have been protected from any costs resulting from the fire, including temporary accommodation, and we are working to expedite the works." 2 separate government funds have been set up to help pay for dangerous cladding to be removed and replaced. One for Grenfell type aluminium cladding that was set up last year. Another for the other kinds of cladding was announced only this year. But it isn't easy to get that money, and it isn't easy to find people who can do the necessary works. Nigel Glenn can tell us about that. He's from the Association of Residential Management Agents.
Yes, thank you for that.
Nigel, where are the shortages?
The initial shortages are in fire assessors, and the reason for that is because of the PI insurance, the professional indemnity insurance, so they're not covered to give quotes or to do assessments, and that's really, really provided a huge bottleneck, I'm afraid.
So when you look at this story, how long do you think it will be before it's all sorted out?
Many years, 5, maybe 10. I mean, it's not very nice to say that to people, but there are thousands of buildings that are going to be affected, and there's a limited number of contractors, etc., that we can turn to. It's going to be a very difficult situation.
And in the meantime, thousands of people who have bought these relatively modern flats with cladding, they find they can't sell them or remortgage them.
Absolutely. I mean, listening to Will, I read the report this morning, and I'd recommend anybody else to. It's harrowing reading.
Nigel Glenn from the Association of Residential Management Agents. Thanks so much for coming on. We did ask the Housing Minister, Robert Jenrick, to talk about this, and we hope he will come on the programme in the future. His department sent us a statement saying they recognise the concerns of people with unsafe cladding, and that is why they're going to bring forward the biggest change to building safety in a generation. Well, I'm sure be reporting on that. That's it for today.